What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Journeyman, brought to you by the good folks at the DraftKings Network and Meadowlark Media. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Hawkins, 7-year NFL vet, 3-month NBA scout. Did you know that, Amin?
No, I didn't.
All right, well, I'm joined by Amin Elhassan, all things sports, specifically guru of the NBA, which is especially timely for today's topics.
3 months, huh?
3 months. I was a scout for 3 months for the Detroit Lions before I played in the NFL. Quick story. So I was an intern in the front office, and this is, I think, the second year that Calvin Johnson was there. The Detroit Lions actually went 0-16 this season, right?
That was
and
the season, by the way. Dan Lebatard thought they'd go to the playoffs.
There you go.
At the beginning of the year, he said, "I think this is a playoff team." They went
I
0 for
think
16.
this team is good. So I was scouting as like my first year out of college. I got invited there to be a scouting intern because I wanted to be a general manager. And so I'm there scouting, and I had the wide receivers. And so I was scouting the wide receivers every day. Now, I'm a very objective person, right? But people don't know that. They think I'm a hater. So I'm watching the receivers, and I'm like, yo, I could play in the NFL. Right?
Yo.
And so I'm scouting for the Lions, but I'm in the weight room like lifting, and I'm like, I got this new energy of like, yo, I could play in the league. There's only one player here that I think is better than me, and it was Calvin Johnson. He was the only one on that team.
That was the one where you're like, you had to give it up.
And so at the end of like the internship, they offered me a full-time job to come in as a scout with the Detroit Lions. And
is this pro scouting, college, all levels?
All levels. So you would just come work in the front office. I was under Martin Mayhew, who's now the GM in Washington, as well as Sheldon White, who was the director of player personnel. And I was a really good scout because I would break it down. They had like a 5th-round pick that I ripped to shreds. I was like, this is all the problems. This isn't going to be good. This guy isn't going to be great. Calvin Johnson, he was the number 2 behind Roy Williams at the time. And I'm like, I don't know what you're waiting for, but he's by far and away the best receiver on this team. He's the number 1. I don't care how young he is, right? And so they offered me this full-time position. They basically were like, hey, but you got to be done because we can kind of smell the stint of playing on you.
Absolutely.
You're kind of walking around as if you think you can do this, and you're 5. And so I turned the job down to go chase the dream.
And that's when you went to the CFL.
From there, I went on a reality show. From the reality show, I went to the CFL. From the CFL, I went and played 7 seasons in the NFL. And I would play against the Lions, and they were like, you are the first scouting intern we've ever had to play against us every year after that. So we're both front office.
There you go.
That's what I was trying to get to.
You're a suit.
Yeah, I'm a suit. So here we are. This is the day after the 4th of July, and I'll be honest with you, Amin, I don't know what I'm supposed to celebrate, man. What'd you do on your 4th?
I hung out with my kids. I played Monopoly. I lost for the first time to my kids in Monopoly.
All right, here's the curveball. What'd you do for Juneteenth?
I think I was working.
Do you know what to do on Juneteenth?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Just cook, eat.
Who gets to celebrate Juneteenth? I feel like
I've said this many a time. White people shouldn't get Juneteenth off.
They shouldn't get to be off of work on Juneteenth.
Yeah. I like, by the way, I love all the people who complain about, these made up holidays. Like, so you don't want time off? Like, you know how racist you got to be like, hey, man, here's a paid day off. No. Like, what's wrong with you?
I refuse. It was very hard for me explaining to my children the difference between Juneteenth and July 4th, like at once, because they're young enough now that they're both national holidays. I got to lump them. This is a 2-week span. Juneteenth was a couple weeks ago.
Yes, it was.
So I got to be like, yo, this is what this is. This is who gets to celebrate this. And they're like, well, what is the overall message for Juneteenth? What is it? Is it like making things right? Is it like eventually getting to do that? Because Juneteenth was like,
it's a messed up holiday when you
it's
really
a mess. There's no good way to explain it, bro.
This is the day where all the slaves that they didn't tell that the Civil War was over, like that. This is the day they found out.
They got around to doing the right thing. So that's what you should do on Juneteenth. Celebrate by getting around to do the thing that you've been putting off. That should have been done a while ago. As a matter of fact, I celebrated Juneteenth on July 4th because that is the spirit. I waited a couple weeks, and then I finally got around to it.
Hey, man, you know that birthday cake of yours that you left in the fridge and disappeared?
Go clean some stuff up.
That was me. I ate it.
Do the right thing. That's Juneteenth. I had a great July 4th. Me and the kids went and celebrated. We went and watched fireworks. We cooked out, and it hit me like a ton of bricks trying to figure out, like, okay.
Like man, you know what, man? I've given, like, you know what? I tell my kids all these holidays are made up anyway. Like, it's a day off. That's all it is. I had to work too. I know how to think about it. I worked anyway. But it's like you can't. I'm not into ascribing these like bigger ideals to a day off. President's Day. We have to remember all the. No, we don't. It's just a day off.
It's just a day. Enjoy the day. Go do your thing, man. All right. Well, Sid Colston isn't here with us today, where she typically is. I don't know if you've seen the clip of her going viral this weekend, but I don't know if there was a better clip in the history of this show, Journeyman, that perfectly encapsulates what this show is. She's on the bench, just goofing around. That's typically how Sid is going viral, and it's funny because that is the Journeyman experience.
It took me back to school, man, where you messing around like, oh, the teacher's coming. Hold on, chill. And then teacher walk away.
And right back.
Now we back.
And it's funny. We had a conversation last week about old dance moves that are no longer cool, like the gritty, the dab, I talked about hitting them folks. And she was like, no, that's still good. And in this clip, she's doing it. And I realized it's probably not still a good dance to do. She just still does it. So in her mind, it's still good.
So basically, she was biased in her answer.
Yes.
So the reason why she's like, no, it's still cool is because she's still doing it.
Exactly. I wish you were here because I needed a third.
I thought you would go with Cabbage Patch or something like
that.
Oh,
that's way out the way, man. If you're doing the Cabbage Patch in 2023, that's something you need to do on Juneteenth. Put the Cabbage Patch to dead.
Juwan Howard doing the Cabbage Patch is stuck in my brain forever. I don't know why, but it's just like anytime someone says the Cabbage Patch, I always think of Juwan Howard at Michigan.
Right. I get it. That's a 30-year-old dance, so that timeline seems about right.
The dance is so old, its son is in the NBA now.
The good old dance lineage. The gritty is the son of the Cabbage Patch. All right, so, I mean, you got like a little bit of a hangover from NBA free agency, I would imagine.
That's not a hangover. We're still drunk, buddy.
We still drunk?
We are still fully drunk.
We are still lit.
Until Damian Lillard gets traded.
What's going on with Damian Lillard? He requests the trade, right? There's obviously new news on this. It's exciting to watch. It's great when you get like some big-time free agency news that keeps on going. Blockbuster status. Does this make Dame Lillard officially an NBA superstar? Because he's finally requested a trade. Because you can't really be a superstar until you move all the pieces yourself.
Well, yeah, at least yes, I like that. You got to at least request it. Doesn't necessarily have to happen, but like think about like Kobe Bryant, who, you know, everyone's like, oh, he retired the Lakers 20 years. Like, yeah, but y'all don't remember when he was
trying to get up out of there.
He was trying to get up out of there and broke that news to a 15-year-old with a cell phone camera. Back when cell phone cameras weren't good.
Right.
He was demanding trades in parking lots in the Orange County, right? Like on a flip phone, exactly. So yeah, I think everyone's got to go through that. I don't think LeBron has ever requested a trade though.
No, but I mean, he hasn't requested a trade, but he obviously left Cleveland. And I think more than requesting a trade, it's like, because I'm trying to think of the NFL comp. It's like literally you're so good that you have the leverage to move any of the pieces you want to. And that's like, for most sports fans, they think or assume, or at least prior to this generation, that the team or the club was in charge. But you can be so good at sports that you are the de facto coach, general manager, president, whatever you want to say, because you can dictate what a franchise does. And Dame Lillard has been that on the court as far as his ability, but he's just been so team. He gets his contract. He's quiet. They never actually add any help. He never gets to play with an all-star, and subsequently, he never gets to compete for championships.
He's been too good a guy. Like, you know, you ever heard this term? They got this in football, too coachable?
Yes, too coachable.
Too coachable. So, like, in basketball...
He needs an edge.
Yeah, there's a point in time where it's like, yeah, coach wants you to do this, but you got to say, F that, I'm going to do this. And on paper, someone's like, no, you always have to listen to coach. You're like, no, sometimes being a star is about like knowing when to break script, right?
Yep.
And in that regard, not obviously on the court, but like in regards to controlling his own career, I think Damian Lillard hasn't broken script early enough, nearly enough as he needed to. And I think the other part of it is what LeBron realized very quickly when he left Cleveland the first time is the way the salary cap is going, instead of valuing long-term security, I should be valuing flexibility and leverage. And so what he started doing is getting shorter and shorter deals, and that, in essence, gives him, it's not just that he's great at what he does, but he's also got the stick of, y'all don't do what I like, I'm going to just leave. I don't have to ask for a trade or demand a trade. I'll just leave. I have an option. This is only a 2-year deal, and there's an option on the third or an option on the second year. I can leave. And that's the thing that I thought we'd see more of, to be honest with you. since he started doing that, I thought we'd see more guys. But a lot of guys really value the security. They want to know, like, look, I've got this thing coming.
You know what else it is to me? It's not so, I mean, it is value in the security, but I think it's also a confidence thing because that is being a superstar. The other part of that is you can go shorter term deals. It's like media. It's all the same. Yeah. We can go shorter term deals if I feel like I'm that guy. Like, I feel like I'm always going to be valuable because I'm him.
Yeah.
I can go as short as I want because this money ain't going to stop flowing. Whereas if you don't really believe that in 2 years you'll be having the seasons or the statistics to deserve that max, you benefit now. So there's a confidence that comes along that ties to being a superstar. I liken it to NFL quarterbacks can do that. If you are him, you can say, yo, I need this on the outside. I need this kind of O-line or I'm not showing up or I'm not signing that contract or I'm not doing this. There's not a lot of other positions that can do that.
See, that's the funny. That's always the NFL way. Is like, if I don't like it, I'm just not going to show up. The NBA way is like, if I don't like it, I'm going to show up and I'm going to mess all this thing up, right?
I'm going to go Jimmy Buckets
exactly.
on y'all. Yeah.
So, which is, again, another reason Dame too nice, right? He's never showed up and made life incredibly uncomfortable for everybody around him. And that's a trick. When you want something in the NBA, you don't ask for it.
You make everyone
You light things on fire, and then you sit there in the middle of the room and like, what do you want?
My agent told me earlier in my career, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Oh, man.
And you know what? I would always say this to Andy Dalton, who was my quarterback in Cincinnati. And early on, he was like second-round pick, had A.J. Green, but he was balling. He was playing way better than people expected. He was taking the franchise that hadn't been a perennial playoff team to the playoffs every year. And I remember being in meetings, and Jay Gruden was the OC, and he would always kind of come at Andy's neck a little bit because that's just his personality. Yeah. Jay is like a player himself. And I would pull Andy to the side, and I'm like, yo, man, I get it. You want to listen to the coach. You went to TCU. You're, devout Christian. I appreciate everything that you're about. At some point, you got to start bucking back. He would say things in the meeting, the coach, and he'd be like, I bet you if we had Cam Newton. And I was like, yo, man, I'm as agreeable as they come.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if he comes at me that way, I'm going to come back at him, and you should too. Stop taking plays you don't feel good about and doing them in the game, because when they go wrong, it comes back on you. Don't take. And so that was always something for Andy. And if you think about Andy Dalton, who's honestly, he is way better than people give him credit for. But it's because he's let all that kind of stuff slide, both in the media, behind the scenes, when we're at the places. And the knock on someone like Andy is that he's too nice, which is an incredible thing to be as a person. But the flip side is people always yapping their gums about you.
Who's the guy that did the best job of flipping the switch, of being legitimately a nice person, and then when stepped on the field was like, oh my God, like ruthless, almost like you couldn't believe that this was the same person?
In football?
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Either someone you played with or someone you played against.
That I couldn't believe it was the same person. I would say.
Yeah, you got a name?
Give me one.
I'm gonna tell you mine. Mine was Grant Hill. Because Grant Hill is literally, I say this, Grant Hill is so good of a human being, it makes you feel bad about yourself. You're like, what am I doing with my life, man? This dude is doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And is that nice and that gracious and that patient with people and caring and connects and all that stuff. And then I remember I was running the scoreboard in practice, and they were going through a drill, and they cheat. They always cheat. They try to cheat the score. So Grant's like yelling at me, screaming at me, "That's 5. It's got to be 5. You only got 4." It's like, no, I thought I counted. And I was like, and because it's Grant, I was like, it's 5. And then later on, it was like, oh no, that was just, he just complete like Jekyll and Hyde. Stepped on a court, started cheating,
turned into
and being angry and cussing people out. And I was like, who is this guy? I was like,
that's a great example. I would say Troy Polamalu.
Oh, is he really nice in real life?
Oh my gosh, bro. He is maybe one of the nicest human beings, like the nicest human being I've ever encountered off the field of anybody I've played against. He would obviously try to take my head off every time we played, and he would succeed in most times. He's Troy Polamalu, is a very scary dude. But after he would hit you, he would say, God bless you. He would be praying for you. This is no exaggeration. He would pray for us in between the plays. So he would take me up. One time he helicoptered me, and I literally looked like I was breakdancing on the field. My knee felt like it fell off, and I'm like jogging back to the huddle trying to be cool. And he says, God bless you, 16. And he has a very Michael Jackson-esque high-pitched voice. He's signing the crossing you, over top of your body, and he's apologizing. I'm sorry about that. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. There you go. Talk about uncomfortable. I don't know. That might make you more uncomfortable than just being an a-hole, right? So anyway, speaking more about uncomfortability, we'll be right back to talk a little bit about Chris Paul. All right. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of news about sports media. Obviously, there was a lot of ESPN cuts recently. We have a lot of friends over there. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about a show even beyond that. And if you have any insight there as a former ESPNer, mm-hmm. Please give it to me before I go on to what I think the most exciting sports television show is going today.
What's that, Journeyman?
No. Well, second. Yes, Journeyman number one. Thank you. Absolutely. Best one going. I should have started there. Is what it is, man.
Oh, come on, man. That's right there. That's the future.
That's
the future.
Honestly,
right there,
and
man.
I know we joke a lot. We say a lot of funny things here. I'm not kidding. I don't know if there's a sports show beyond Journeyman, beyond the Le Batard universe, that I am more engaged with than watching It Is What It Is with rapper Cam'ron and rapper Mace.
Yeah. You know what it is it is. No.
What it is what it is.
There's a lot. You know, it's funny. If you just sit down and watch, you don't know who these guys are, it's a funny show. But I think when you know the background and the context, it makes it even richer, right? Like, first of all, these guys are both they're rappers, like you said, they're music artists.
Uh-huh.
And so they're doing a sports show and they're doing it well, right? They're doing it funny, entertaining, engaging. But like, this isn't their chosen profession. They haven't been doing this. It's not like they had a music podcast first and then they did. Like, this is their foray into journalism, I guess, whatever you want to call this, mm-hmm. of this nature. But then you go back and say, these guys are childhood friends.
Yep.
And played on the same high school basketball team. And so you got that history there, that shared chemistry of like, this is someone like my brother. But then you go, also they had like this whole span where they didn't like each other.
I love
very
it.
Publicly, right? So it's just all of those things when you have all that context in there and you're watching, you're like, man, this is real moving stuff, more than just the funny jokes or whatever. I enjoy it tremendously. I saw them. They came to Suns Nuggets in the second round. I went to that game. I saw them. I told them, I said, man, you guys, probably my favorite show to watch.
That's not an exaggeration. The thing that they do really well is that they don't have the stink of sports media on them, mm-hmm. right? Because when you get in this, there's like a part of you that feels like you have to follow suit. You got to do it a certain way. You got to talk a certain way. There's certain things you can't venture into. The fact that everyone tries to do the quote unquote barbershop talk, they are truly just, it's vulgar.
Yeah.
They say what the hell they want to say.
Yeah.
They give their opinions. It's not politically correct whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And because there's not a lot of lanes like that have a show about sports that look along the same lines as what we're used to, it fills a void that you feel like, man, I can't stop watching this.
My cousin Proof, whose birthday was yesterday. Shout out Proof.
Shout out Proof. Happy birthday, my G.
He had this concept. This when we were like in high school, he was talking about this concept called life without consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's life without? Imagine life without consequences. You could walk up, you could slap your teacher, and then sit down, and then like nothing would happen, right? Like, you just, if you want to walk in a bank and rob the bank and walk away, and like there's no alarms, no cops coming for you, you just got money or whatever.
The purge.
But yeah, so he's like, he's talking about life without consequences, and it applies here. They are in a place where they are untouchable because they aren't in the mainstream. They aren't mm-hmm. in the lanes or whatever. They don't work for an ESPN or a Fox or an NBC. So they're not beholden to anyone other than their viewers and their fans, and their viewers and their fans are there for a reason. Mm-hmm. They're not like, I enjoy this, but he said what? Well, I'm never watching. Those aren't their fan. Their fan base are people who really resonate with that stuff. And a buddy of mine who's a stand-up comedian, his name's Andrew Schultz, mm-hmm. kind of in comedy was one of these guys pushing that angle years ago. He told me, like, I don't want to do a special for Comedy Central. I don't want to do Netflix. I don't want to do HBO. I just want to go direct to. It's like I sell out clubs all over this country. 4 dates: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Two shows on Saturday, two shows on Sunday. You can't tell me I don't have an audience that's going to watch me wherever I am.
Right.
Where people are like, well, I don't know, and he's too risky, and da-da-da. And so he went out and set out and created this whole empire really through that of just saying, look, I'm not trying to impress Viacom or Disney. I'm trying to impress my fans. And I think Cam and Mace, they have that. They're not trying to impress ESPN or, or Fox. They don't need to.
Nah.
They're going right to the consumer, and the consumer's there.
Direct to consumer. And the thing about the sports media stuff is it's not easy. I mean, I think a lot of athletes specifically get in here, they pick up a mic, and they think it's easy. Travis Kelce actually went on record and said podcasting was the hardest thing he's ever done. And this is a guy who is arguably the best tight end to ever play in the NFL. And he's not wrong, because it really is hard. There are so many elements that I think people in general, not just players, I honestly hate podcasts of certain people. I hate podcasts that don't have a specific skill to it, that is just, you think it's literally pick up a mic and just start talking because you can't engage. There's no entertainment value. There isn't an understanding of what the audience wants versus what your own value proposition is. And Mace and Cameron, for two rappers who understand entertainment, they understand audience, they understand putting on a show, they have transitioned into the media game of it actually pretty seamlessly. You
know who else had a really good version of this?
Who?
I don't know. I don't think he still does it, but Snoop. Snoop had this. Had this GGN News Network.
Yep.
They used to have on YouTube, and he'd do interviews. And I won't lie to you. Like, when I was watching his stuff, this was right around me starting at ESPN or earlier in my career. And that was I'd never even tried to be in media or wanted to be in media. Like, this thing just happened to me. Yo, I like the way he interviews people. I like the way he asks the questions. I like the way he goes about it. Now, they're getting high the whole time, too.
Yeah, I was going to say. They was blunted up.
Oh, man, crazy. I think Seth Rogen lit up a cross. I've never seen this, where it's like a blunt and then another blunt, and it makes a cross, like a crucifix. Then they light the other three sides, and then they pull on it. And they're talking about rolling weed and all that stuff. But, Snoop really is a great interviewer.
Yeah,
he's got that talent, he's got that skill, and that grew for him. Now NBC, whenever they're doing Olympic coverage, I don't know if you ever watched that, like the Olympics After Dark.
Yep.
It's him and Kevin Hart.
Yep.
And, I get it. They got writers and stuff, but there's
still funny.
It's funny, but also there's a skill to that too.
Absolutely.
You can't just hand a joke to someone and expect them to deliver. So I really enjoy. I guess I never thought about it, that when you're an entertainer like that, on the scale that they are, and the number of interviews that they've done as subjects, that you're actually hones your ability to do it on the other side.
Right.
In a way that I don't know that athletes have the same kind of thing. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, not all athletes, because there are some athletes who are obviously very, very good.
Right.
You're looking at one of me. And I don't want to get ventured too far down the lane where we can't walk it back. No. What's funny about Snoop? I had to turn down a smoke session with Snoop.
What?
Yeah, man. I think everyone always has a smoke session story with Snoop. And my story is I had to turn it down.
Because?
A lot of reasons. I'm not a smoker.
Doesn't matter.
I'm not a smoker either. Right. And it's that's what I always told myself. I'm like, if Snoop asked me, then I'm going to go. I played in him and Matt Barnes' charity flag football game. And I got the MVP. I was out there. It was T.O., Reggie Bush. I'm not name dropping. I'm just letting you know I'm like that, right?
Hold on. Did they test you beforehand?
Because I wasn't in the league. I was done.
No, I'm talking about to play in the game. It's like the opposite. You got to test positive to be in this game.
Right.
Snoop and Matt Barnes? Good Lord.
Yeah. It was clean P for your boy. So I balled, and they were like, yo, MVP, Snoop wants you to come back.
Yeah.
And it was like, I heard the music, like the... Like, I had to make a decision. I'm thinking, I'm like, do I do this? I call my wife. I'm like, yo, I feel like I shouldn't turn it down. She's like, I don't feel like you shouldn't turn it down either. I'm like, yeah, but I don't smoke. Ultimately, I said no.
Nah, man.
And I don't think I've been invited back to a Snoop function since.
I would definitely. I don't smoke, but I 1,000%. If Snoop asks, yeah, man, because, and I'm not saying every time.
Yeah, but just the first time.
I do it that one time, and with the with acceptance. I mean, you're gonna fall asleep, and,
Right.
and everyone's gonna be like, and they're gonna laugh at you, and you're gonna cough, and they're like, oh, baby lungs, like all that stuff is gonna happen. But I get to walk away saying, I smoked with Snoop. Man.
Yeah, so you're saying I made the wrong decision.
Absolutely.
All right, speaking of wrong decisions.
Were you active?
I wasn't active.
No, you made the worst decision ever.
Okay, so worst decision ever. Back to NBA free agency news. Yeah. Chris Paul goes to the Golden State Warriors. I'm not going to lie, it's a little weird for me.
It is weird.
It's a weird thing. This is someone he's battled against. And Jeff, our producer, asked if there was a team that, like, from in the NFL side or my own career, that I was ever like, oh, I don't think I would want to go play for them. And I don't think athletes think like that. I think at some point, every athlete is going to go where the money is. Or the opportunity. That's just not, it's business for us. But from the other side of it, I mean, is it not weird?
I think there's two things. One is that you go where the money is. But two, also, I think athletes, you guys have a delusion about you.
Yeah, we're crazy.
So,
no,
but it's true. Like, you have to be.
Yes.
Because if you're level-headed and stuff, you would never, like, a level-headed person would say, full-time job with the Detroit Lions as a scout. I want to be a GM one day. This is my dreams coming true.
Right.
But you had the athlete crazy GM like, I'm better than these guys right here. And
scout the team. I should be starting for the Lions.
Right? Like, so you have to have that, right? And so part of the reason is you go where the money is, but also the other part of the reason is like, man, I could play with them. Like, you tell me I can't play with these guys, or that I wouldn't be able to fit, or I wouldn't be able to make these guys better. I think there's a pride about it that's like, you could never tell me that I can't play here and I wouldn't be successful.
Do you think it works? Do you think this equation is going to work? Draymond Green has gone on record saying he does not like Chris Paul. He respects him. There's obviously a lot of battles. Now you add another big personality. I would imagine if Draymond swings on Chris swinging back.
In the nuts.
He's
got a track
fight
record.
To the death.
And by the way, Draymond's got a track record too.
Draymond's got it's going to be great, but like, is it? Should we be more excited about them two being together on one team against others, or do we think internally it may not work? You said there was a great point that you guys made on the Le Batard show. There's only 3 players in the league who have been on the same team since 2012, and it's Draymond, Clay, and Steph. That is a chemistry. That is a brotherhood. That is a history there. Do you think Chris Paul is going to be able to infiltrate that and fit within it?
This is what I would say. More often than not in the NBA, when you have a guy who plays on another team that you hate, and then you end up playing with him, they always end up being best friends. Like, oh, this guy's awesome, right? So, like, I think about Dennis Rodman. I mean, think about, like, you saw, like, oh, Chris Paul and Draymond Green and Draymond. I don't like him. I respect him. Think about the relationship between Dennis Rodman and Michael and Scottie. Mm-hmm. Like Dennis in Detroit, where it's like literally they had a codified plan to beat y'all up, literally. Like be dirty
inflict
pain and be generally just make your life miserable.
But they were all the same person, as we can tell by them not being able to stop talking stuff in media. Dennis Rodman said that today Larry Bird would be playing overseas.
Yeah, I mean Dennis Rodman's also really high. I mean,
okay.
Like he's and I'm not talking about the Snoop variety. Like this dude's on some other stuff, man. No, but like the reality is this: it's like Mike and Scottie weren't friends.
Yeah,
they were co-workers. They had like a
that makes me cry a little bit. I'm not gonna lie,
every '90s kid's like childhood. Like,
I tried to play it cool, sports media, like yes, go on, but then like an inside, like a tear. Yeah. I felt the internal tear drop in my own face.
Little Hawk in the living room with the TV.
He was you just made him so sad.
Watching sick Mike being hugged by Scottie and like, no, look, they're friends.
Look at my eyes. I'm getting teary eyed.
Yes, man.
Thinking about the fact that Scottie and Mike are like, you just broke news to me. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I thought this was just a riff going on right now.
Man, they've never been friends. I'm not saying they're enemies. You really, you look like an anime right now. His eyes got the big white dot in there from the moisture.
Go on, man.
No, but
power through.
But like, and then you add Dennis to it, and that both of them hated Dennis when he played in Detroit. But it's like, oh wait, you do this really well, and I do. All right, well, it fits. And so my question isn't from that standpoint. My question is, the expectation I think Golden State has for Chris Paul is that he's reached the David West, Sean Livingston, Andrew Bogut phase of his career. And those were all guys who were like all-stars or really highly regarded players early in their careers. And then when they came to Golden State, it was like, this is the end of the road, but I'm here to bring my IQ and kind of my gamesmanship to help this thing be better. I don't know I'm not denying or agreeing. I'm just saying I don't know where Chris Paul's mind is at. Is his mind still, I'm still a starting point guard in this league. I'm damn near an all-star. I went to the finals 2 years ago or however 3 years ago now. Or is it like, hey, I can be a piece to what these guys are trying to do? Because the first thing we got to start with, hey, Chris Paul, by the way, you coming off the bench. Like, that's...
Hey, yo, P, they said I got to come off the bench.
You know, like, that's, again, going back to athlete delusion, you just quoted Carmelo Anthony being asked about coming off the bench, and to him it was as ridiculous as saying, hey, do you want the scouting internship instead of playing? Like, it was like, what? Like, how dare you? How dare you? If that part hasn't been resolved inside of Chris Paul,
it won't work.
Then it won't work.
Okay. Well, we'll be back in a second. Amin will be here talking NBA and crushing more childhood dreams. All right, so this past weekend, Michael Rubin, who is the owner of Fanatics and the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, had his infamous all-white party.
He's the most popular white man in America.
Oh, man. And, I mean, star-studded. Tom Brady's there. Jay-Z is there. I think Beyonce was there. Kim Kardashian, James Harden, Lil Baby, Meek Mill, Joe Burrow. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's almost like a who's who of anybody in music, sports, entertainment, at this party in the Hamptons.
Taylor Rooks was there.
Taylor,
where's the plus one? Plus two. I know.
Taylor's the homie.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I enjoy watching Taylor's ascension in life because I feel like one of us made it. You know what I'm saying? I feel
absolutely,
like
man.
There's like a feeling of like, yo, I want to see Taylor get all the things because I feel like as long as Taylor's there, I'm there. You know what I mean?
I do this with every person I know who blows up. I'm like, all right, like, you know, technically I have a claim to this as well. There's a buddy of mine, I actually hired him. I got him his first NBA job. I hired him, right? Or I co-hired him, me and my other buddy.
Rich Paul.
No.
Oh, okay.
He's an assistant coach on the Nuggets. And like, I'm like, technically that championship bonus? Not the ring. I'm talking about the playoff bonus.
You wanna cut?
Homie, hell yeah, I want to cut. You wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for me.
You're doing the Diddy 360 deals.
I'm just saying, man. Like
it's wild.
A thank you would be nice. Like just a little in an envelope, you know?
Little Rolex action.
Something, you know?
What are the chances you ever get invited to the Mike Rubin party?
Zero
chance ever. You don't believe this is where you can start to put in some of your athlete, like,
I'm going to tell you why it's zero.
Delusional self.
No. It's not about delusion.
Okay.
It's not about like, oh, I'll never be invited. They don't even know who. No, it's not that.
Yeah.
They know exactly who I am.
They know who I am.
That's why I'm not getting invited.
And you're not getting on the list.
Dude, I get in there, first of all like 80% of the people in there are people I've talked shit about at some point or another.
Okay.
Like all of them, like there he goes. Like,
man, are you the black Skip Bayless? A
little
bit?
No.
80% is a high number. I mean, that's not great.
Here's the thing. I always say this. I'm like, why are they mad? Well, you said this, that, and that. And they're like, well, it might be a little true, but that's the thing. It's like Skip says stuff that are just ridiculous. Shock value. I say stuff that, I mean, look, man, you want to name drop? I'm name drop right here. Shaq has told me straight up, you can't say that. Oh, okay. And I said, am I wrong? He said, you can't say that. And I said, but am I wrong? He said, you're not wrong, but you don't have the G14 classification to say that.
Ooh.
Like
okay.
that comes from the Diesel, right? Like his thing is like, you're not incorrect in what you're saying. Your assessments aren't incorrect.
You're just not the messenger we're looking
for. Exactly.
Okay.
Like, and that's the problem with a lot of, I would say, at least definitely from the athlete perspective, either there's a feeling that I don't have the right to say these things, or that, and I realize baked in within that is there's a bunch of people who don't know my background. They think I'm just a pretty face in a microphone.
Yeah.
And they don't know that, like, that's why the older guys kind of are usually more, because they know, like, oh, no, I mean, worked here, and they know who I work with, and they vetted me, you know what I'm saying?
But
like,
that's the conundrum of everybody. Even athletes now, like that were great athletes.
Yeah.
The new athletes will look at them and be like, yo, shut up, you hating. Like, it's just. That's just a part of the game.
There's a difference between telling like Charles Barkley you hating because you old and I'm making more money than you are, versus me where they're like, who the hell are you? Who the hell is this a mean guy? As one. Man, I'll tell this story right now on air. Why not?
Let's get it. Is it the first time you ever told it?
On air?
I wish I had the bomb. Can I get the sound effect where it's dun, 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 dun? I feel like I deserve one of those. So match it up with the finger.
It was trade deadline maybe like 5 years ago. And on the show, Rachel Nichols is hosting. It's Scottie Pippen. Mm-hmm. It's David Fizdale.
Who was not friends with Michael Jordan.
Who was not friends with Michael Jordan, yeah.
Joined late.
The tears are welling up again.
Go ahead.
It's David Fizdale, right? And it's me. You know, Fizz has been a head coach in the league and assistant coach for a long time. Scottie, we all know who Scottie is. And me, I worked in the front office, right? Mm-hmm. So Rachel asked a question. To this day, I don't remember what the question was. But whatever the question was, Scottie gave his answer, which was, whatever it was this, and the way I see it, it's got to be like this. And Fizz says, yeah, like I can't say it any better than Scottie, and he basically agrees. And it comes to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna go against these guys on this point. Like it's pretty straightforward. It is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. You should have turned that into a show. But
I
go
know,
ahead.
damn. But then, I like in the commercial break, I get on Twitter, and Patrick Beverly tweets, "Who is this a mean guy? He doesn't know anything." And I'm like, buddy, if you have there's two guys right here. Mm-hmm. Why don't you say they don't know anything? You don't agree with what I said? Okay. There go Scottie. Say Scottie don't know what he's talking about. There go Fizz. Say Fizz. You won't pick me because you don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm. You don't know. He feels best about his chances when he sees you in public.
He saw me in public.
Was it beef?
It was.
What happened then? This is a story we want to get to, Amin. What happened? Who started it?
I went. He was taping. My friend says, "Hey, we're taping this podcast, and this is All-Star Weekend a couple of years later." So I said, "Yeah, I'll swing through." I come through. He's in the chair. He's getting interviewed, right, by like a producer. It's not even like
on air yet.
It's not even like this. It's not like two people hosting a guest. Okay. It's literally a producer feeding lines off camera, off mic, and he's answering, right, and he sees me walk in and he starts saying all this stuff about the producer asks, what do you think is the biggest problem with the game right now? All these media people who don't actually watch games or go to games but sit in studios talking. I'm like,
okay.
Now,
direct shot.
There's like 20 people in this room.
The not so subliminal.
So I'm like, oh, you know what, man? They're doing their thing. Be professional. Let them finish their thing. And then when it's done, we'll have a conversation. So every answer he has is like, either just ridiculous, like what's the toughest challenge, like who's the toughest person to guard? No one's hard to guard. Like, what about LeBron? LeBron's not hard to guard. I'm like, okay, dude, like, oh, you're really tough. Ooh, it's not hard to guard anybody. Like, it would be like me asking you, like, yo, who's someone that you worried about coming across the middle?
Nobody.
Like, nobody. Like, okay, but we know that's not a real answer. Because if it was, you would just go do the same thing against everybody, but you don't.
You don't,
right?
Okay, I get that.
It's either these kind of ridiculous answers or like stuff that felt like really veiled shots. So at the end of it, all right, everyone great, da-da-da. He starts dapping people up, like, because he's about to on out. My friend says, hey, Pat, you know what I mean, right? And he mumbles something.
Now, did your friend know that it was potential beef?
No, my friend did not know.
Okay.
And I said, I'm sorry, did you say unfortunately, or did you say yeah, or you know, or I don't think so. Or
so you were like, say it with your chest, Pat Bev.
It was no, but I really didn't. He mumbled it, so I was like, it sounded like unfortunately, but it also could have sounded like something like I don't think so, or something like that. The way he mumbled it, and he says a little louder, unfortunately. And so, you know, me, I got that Gilbert Arenas crazy in me, so I just laugh. I laugh. And I look around and I say, why is it so unfortunate to know who I am? And he said, I just feel like you be saying things. And then I said, what did I say? Well, I can't think. Mind you, this whole time he's not making eye contact. It's down, it's up, it's around to the left or whatever. Mm-hmm. What did I say? Well, I can't think of anything right now. And then he walks out.
And that was it.
And that was it.
But y'all cool now?
I don't know. I don't give
that was the time y'all interacted?
Last time I saw him in person, yeah.
Now Pat Bev is a member of the media, man. We gotta get y'all on the show together. We gotta talk this out right here on Journeyman.
I don't need to talk shit out. life is great. I don't need closure out of this.
I know it's not about closure. Pat Bev is like he might be a Hall of Fame journeyman as it pertains to the NBA. He goes overseas, he comes back. He's a name we know.
Congratulations. He made a lot of money, and he's had a long career. And I scouted him when he was in college. I thought he was a good player. Mm-hmm. I think he's carved himself out a nice little NBA career.
But if it's beef, it's beef.
I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not that if it's beef, it's beef. It's if I talk shit about Andrew Hawkins all day long, right? On Twitter or whatever, and then Andrew Hawkins is right here in front of me, and I can't be like, hey man, what? Because I told the Austin Rivers story, right?
No.
So we have enough time.
I don't know if we got enough time for the Austin Rivers story.
The quick version is Austin had a problem with my assessments of him. But then when I saw him, he actually came up to me and we had a conversation.
Talked to that.
And actually, I walked away feeling like a piece of shit because I was like, oh, this is like a nice guy, man, and I'm just being a dick.
Right. That makes sense. Do you feel like you hold vendettas strong?
I don't know. I think there's only like a handful of people. Well, they're not all alive now, so I guess it's a couple less. But yeah, there's only it's less than 5 people that I'm like, it's on site forever. Like forever. I will never rock with you. Most other people, like Pat, I don't care about. I'm not angry at him. I don't hate on him. It's really like just a funny story to illustrate to me that like guys are always angry, but many times have the opportunity to either resolve it or talk about it or express your frustration and rage, and they never do, at least not with me.
Right. So. That makes sense. I do a lot of jokes on the internet. I do a lot of sketches, and I've had players come up to me with beef too. But the thing is, I make fun of myself. And my thing is always, I'm like, yo, it's never ill will. Like, if I make fun of me, I'll make fun of you. I don't love you more than I love me. And I literally built a career off of being self-deprecating. So I've had NFL players come up to me with beef or NBA players not like me because I name
names.
I'm not going to name names.
You just made me name 2.
I know, because you like that kind of. You know what? This is a good segue because I want to ask. I actually did. You remember you did the American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah.
And you fell off?
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, that's hilarious. And I put like Mario music. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I've seen it.
I did that on my iMac, and I've always wondered. I'm like, I wonder if that made Amin mad. Be honest.
It didn't make me mad.
It didn't make you mad?
It was one of 8 billion people.
That's what my thing. It was.
When I did American Ninja Warrior the second time, they rolled out a red carpet, and I was like, why is everyone being so nice to me? And one of the guys said, your clip was one of the most watched American Ninja Warrior clips in the history of the show.
I made that edit, and it got 10 million views.
There you go.
On mine alone.
Again, break me off. Where's my cut?
All right, let's get through some rapid NBA stuff here. I mean, but first, there was a tweet going around that said, would you rather take $1 million cash or go for a chance for $20 million if you can score 15 points in a 48-minute NBA game? Which one are you doing?
Give me the cash.
$1 million?
Give me the loot. Dog, 15 points in an NBA game?
Yeah.
It's insane. First of all, 90% of the people saying they take the chance for 20 mil. 3 trips up and down, they're tired.
Done.
Because let me tell y'all right now, let me look in the camera.
Look in the camera.
That little rinky-dink court you play at your Y or Lifetime Fitness or whatever is like a third of the size. An NBA court is humongous. I'm not even talking about like the 3-point line is really far or whatever. I'm just talking about baseline to baseline. That shit, no joke. Now, if you're used to it, it's fine. But you coming off of wherever you hoop at, whatever playground or blacktop, you're not used to it. Number 2, I'm assuming there are other NBA players in this game.
Yeah, they're playing in the NBA game.
Dog, everything happens so fast. So fast. Like pass, I'm wide open. And by the time the ball has hit your hands and you're turning to shoot, it's like you're already swallowed. It's crazy. I've been in drills. Like, I'm telling you, man, there's nothing like being the guy who's supposed to be guarding the ball handler, and then the big is supposed to set the screen, and then he rolls, and then they throw the lob, right? And Shaq set the screen, and when I tell you, like, I grazed him, and it went, everything in my body went, oh my God. It was like a instant stinger. And nothing can, like, prepare you. I don't know what the NFL equivalent is.
Anything.
But getting hit by
everything
by Shaq, but it's not even, it doesn't feel like, wow, this dude really hit me hard. It feels like the Empire State Building. Like, there's a solidness there that even this desk, these walls, I don't feel that. I don't feel that. Like when I felt running into Shaq, it felt like I ran into the Empire State Building. Like, this shit ain't moving. 100 of me could never move this thing. So everyone's huge. Everyone's super fast. Everyone's super bouncy. Even the ones that you think can't jump, like, they can jump compared to you. Right?
I would agree to that. And also, if you could score 15 points in an NBA game, you probably would be making $20 million a year.
15. I thought I was going to say hit a shot. 15?
No, 15. I mean, a lot of people are taking the chance at the 20X. I played in that same flag football game with Snoop Dogg. JaVale McGee was in there. Mm-hmm. And, I think fans are like, oh, JaVale McGee, big, 7 foot, kind of, I don't want to call him clumsy, but 7-footers aren't typically known for
he's
the
a goofy looking guy, but man,
I caught a pick, and I started taking it back, and I'm like, oh, this is easy. I'm scored. JaVale took off, and I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm a 4'3", and this is like fresh after my career. He almost tracked me down.
He's not fast for a big guy.
He's fast.
He's
period.
Fast, period. That's the thing that people don't get. It's not like, oh, he's got pretty good handles for a big guy. No, he's got handles, period.
Right.
Compared to everyone you've played against.
I agree. But like I said, if you can score 15 points in a 48-minute NBA game, you probably would be making $20 million a year already as an NBA player, like our next person we're going to talk about, Dillon Brooks, who just signed a 4-year, $80 million contract, making exactly that, $20 million a year. The Houston Rockets made a couple of moves at veterans. Fred VanVleet also got a $207 million contract negotiated by Rich Paul. Rich Paul, the best agent in the NBA?
I think per capita, yeah. There's other guys that are
good, yeah.
Bill Duffy's great. Jeff Schwartz is great. Mark Bartelstein is really good. But yeah, Rich Paul, I think when you look at, like, because he doesn't have like a million clients. Yeah. He's very boutique driven.
And where he's come from.
Oh yeah, I mean, like where that part.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, Rich Paul seems to be that guy. What did you make of the Dillon Brooks contract? Because I think everyone was saying he was going to go play in China.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, when internet jokes become people's frame of reference for actual analysis.
Going on. Yeah.
Like okay, it's funny and stuff, but he's still an elite NBA defender. He's got good size, and I think the thing that people lose is that this is a guy, regardless of how you feel about him, shenanigans, acting like a dumbass, whatever, he's a pro in terms of, like, his work ethic, where he's come from, how he's built himself into the type of player he is, the professionalism in terms of showing up to work, getting the work done in the weight room, in the film room, on the court, in the practice floor. And Houston has a really, really young team, right? So they need role models of guys that are, hey, like, this is, you want to play in this league, this is the job. Yeah. It's not just show up to practice and then peace out and go play TikToks, Call of Duty and do whatever Jalen Green and Josh Christopher were doing in that one viral video, right? Like,
you need some young boys need some guidance over there, basically.
There's a lot more work that needs to be done, and so him, VanVleet, and Jeff Green was the third guy. Those guys are all guys who carved out a living in this league. VanVleet, obviously undrafted. Dillon Brooks, not highly regarded coming out, or as highly regarded. Jeff Green was a top 5 pick, a lottery pick, but that was 100 years ago.
He's 97 years old.
And he had heart surgery. Like, this dude came back from, like, you'll never play sports again.
Right.
So, like,
and that's it for Journeyman this week. Shout out to my guy, Amin Elhassan. Make sure you journey back next week. Same time, same place. And until then, where's the beef?